Hey, I want to thank you for being here. You can find more conversations just like this one on arroe.net, ARROE.net. All right, let's do it. Let's play it forward. These are real people, real stories, the struggle to play it forward. Episode number 535 is with rocker Terry Ilous.
Errol, how are you? This is Terry Ilous.
Man, I'll tell you what, you have got some rock on your hands when it comes to this music, this new collection of sound.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. Thank you, Harold.
You know, to make it your own, how is it that you were able to dive into this project saying, okay, you know what, we're going to try some new things in this, and I love it?
Thank you. Which project are you referring to?
All or Nothing?
All or Nothing's where their manager is a friend of mine, Eric Stevens. He's a dear friend of mine, and he's asking me if I wanted to do some dates for the kids. And I call them the kids because they're much younger than I, but I don't mean to be demeaning or disrespectful, by the way. I said, yeah, absolutely. So I met with the kids. I love the kids right away. I love them. And they have so much energy and great songs, and they're great players. And I said, yeah, I'm willing to do shows with them. So we started doing shows. And one thing led to another. I told them, I said, well, you need songs. You need to write new songs. And they said, yeah, we're working on something. I said, well, as a matter of fact, I may have a song for you. So I presented the song to them, and they said, oh, it's great. Can we do it? And at the same time, I said, why don't we get George involved, George Lynch? Yes. And George, I sent the track to George, and George replied to me within a few minutes and said, I'm in. And and one thing led to another thing. Well, all of a sudden we recorded the song, and the song ended up going like pretty viral all over the internet because we got I don't know how many hundreds of thousands views within a few months without any promotion. Actually, this is the first time I'm really doing interviews and promoting the track. And aside from posting the song on Facebook, which is not much, so we did that, and we decided to do shows with George involving the kids, and every show is sold out. I mean, go figure, George is happy, I'm happy, the kids are happy. Everybody's happy. Promoters are happy. They're making money. Everybody's happy.
Can you imagine what the world of music would sound like if those that were there in the 50s and 60s got to sit down with the people that inspired them to be creative? Because, I mean, we're in a moment when you talk about the kids and stuff like that. These guys are learning from the legends of music.
Yeah. Well, you see, I think it's I think it's important to pass on the torch. I mean, what I'm trying to say is it's important to help the new generation. We're not here, personally, as artists, we're not here eternally. So bottom line is, as we're getting older, we have to help other kids. We have to help the new generation instead of being angry and say, oh, I'm getting old, I can't do this. No, don't look at it this way. Look at it that we as artists achieve certain things, and we should be grateful about that, by the way. And I'm grateful for the fans and grateful for my career. And I said, you know what, I'm going to help somebody else because they may need my help. And turns out, and Brett now is the new singer for Great White. And I remember doing some Great White songs with him. And I said, you sound great. When I find out that they were looking for a singer, of course, he did it himself. I mean, it's not like I'm the one who got him the gig, not at all. But I pushed him. I said, you can do it. You're a great singer. You're going to do it. And he apparently he's doing fantastic. And I'm really happy for the kid. I mean, he sings great, and he's got such a positive energy, which is what we need in this music business. Yeah. We need positiveness. We don't need, there's so much anger. The world is divided and everything. And we need people like Brett. We need smiles. We need happiness.
Yeah, I've always thought that, especially after the COVID lockdown and stuff like that music would step forward and be that one energy source for that positive, resource as well as outsource.
Well, I don't think it really happened, to be honest with you. I didn't see much of a change after COVID. People, I didn't see that. Maybe you did, but I didn't see it. At the beginning, people were all like, yeah, let's help each other, yeah, Woodstock, the 60s, yeah. I don't see that. I didn't see that way. I just saw that people were the same. It's like it's like a little bit like 9/11. After 9/11, for the few months, people were like loving each other. Everybody was like, "Oh, we need to help each other. You know, we need to save the world and everything." And a year later, nobody remembers 9/11, which is the biggest.
Yep.
It hurts me so bad because, God, man, thousands of people died. You know, and we should remember them every freaking day. You know, so. No, I think we forget. We have a tendency to forget too easily, and we need to not be that way. We need to help each other. I mean, I'm not trying to be Jesus Christ here, by the way. I'm not saying this in a bad mean. I don't mean to be disrespectful by mentioning his name. I'm just saying that it's important to give back because I believe. I do believe that giving is receiving. This is the way I go by. My motto is giving is receiving. You give something to someone without expecting anything in return, of course.
Yep.
Then you get a lot of love because you see the person's joy and you see their happiness. And just that's it. For me, that's good enough. And if something else comes from that, well, great. If nothing else, it's okay. Just don't forget to give back.
Yeah. Great rock needs a place to play, and that's the one thing that you have provided. When you were talking about YouTube and things like this, what happens is that I remember the days when you had to go to the radio station, and then the radio station decided. These days, when you place it out there on YouTube, that's an open door for me to say, I'm going to pass this to a friend, to a friend, to a friend, to a friend, to a friend. Yeah. It's getting that connection made.
Yeah. You know, it's just, again, I mean, I never forget when I came to this country, some old man, I met this elderly person. He was at the time 78 years old or something. He gave me a place to stay. I was an immigrant. I had very little money. I came in America with $500 in my pocket. I didn't speak English. I had $500 in my pocket. I knew this gentleman through a friend of a friend of my parents, you know, and he gave me a chance. He says, we can stay here and I will help you because I am myself an immigrant. I came to America. I flew Germany to escape the Nazi regime, and I'm going to give you a chance. And he gave me a chance, and I would never forget that gentleman. If it wasn't for him, I would probably not be here today. So I said to myself, if I can help people in general, doing anything in life, I will. And these are the words I live by, you know.
Part of that help also includes teaching the those that play guitars and drums the actual engineering of a project too. Because I mean, I love the way that modern day technology allows us to have studios, not necessarily in a recording studio, but rather at home.
Show it to your kids. Help people. Just don't be a schmuck. You know what I mean? It's just the way life is. You know, and you'll be happy. You'll be a better man. Put it this way. That's all
If you only knew how many chefs that I talk to that say that about family traditions when it comes to the recipes and things like that. They say, no. My mom would want the world to have this recipe. It's not going to be a secret.
Of course. Yeah. Anything in life, not just music. Anything. We're talking food. Anything. Pass on the secret. Just pass it on to somebody else. Just the world needs to enjoy it. You know, nothing should be kept just for ourselves. You know. I mean, that's my motto, man. I mean, that's the way I live, you know, words I live by all the time.
How big will this project be? Are there certain songs that will be an EP, a full album? What's happening?
Well, we just did 2 shows in a row in this weekend that were sold out. The crowd loved it. George loved it. And George and I talked about doing a full album. We don't know exactly how it's going to happen, if we're going to go through a record company or if we're going to go through finance everything through private investors. I'm not exactly sure. I know we want to work, George and I want to work together and the kids as well, because the kids will be involved. Of course, you know, again, I don't mean to be disrespectful to call them the kids, but, you know, they, you know, to be honest with you, some of them call me dad. So I got to be honest with you.
Yeah, I totally get that because I create with young people, and I too understand that the kids, because you know they don't hold the experience that you do, and they want to learn so desperately.
Yeah. They're eager. Well, they're 21 years old. You have to realize, I go on stage with people that they're 21 years old. Brett is 25. Ian is 25 also. They all Jacob is 25. Skylar is 21. No, they're all 21 basically. So It's amazing. I mean, God, man, and they still love 80s music. They talk about Motley Crue, they talk about the Skid Row, all those great bands. And I'm like, how do you know Skid Row? I mean, they're like, you know, when that song came out, you were not even born. And like, oh, I love that song. I'm like, wow. I think it's amazing. And they do it. Honestly, this sing, Brett, for example, is such a great singer. He does such a great job. And it's amazing, you know. So I'm thrilled to be working with the kids. As far as what's going to happen between George and the kids and I, we have more shows coming up, lots more shows coming up. A lot of promoters are actually contacting us right now. But the album itself, we're working on it. I know I'm going to write songs with George. I know I'm going to probably write songs with the other people as well. But you need to understand one thing. I am one of George's biggest fan. Yeah. I've always wanted to work with George Lynch. Always, always. Ever since the days when my first album was produced by Don Dark. And ever since I heard his guitar sound, I was amazed. I mean, the guy is freaking beast, and he's amazing on stage. I mean, it's just like some musicians, they play and they're boring on stage. Not George. George gives it all. He's just a beast. He's just in a class of his own. He's George Lynch, period. Yeah. I always wanted to work with the master. That's why I call him Master.
well, Terry, it's people like you as well as George that classic rock radio stations are now doing second generation classic rock. That door is open now where you can go to a classic rock station and you're getting that 90s rock, that 80s rock and things. And it's because of people like yourself putting it in the ear, into the ears and hearts of those that want to play it who are 21.
Yeah. It seems like there's a resurgence of classic rock music all of a sudden. People want to hear classic rock, and unfortunately, a lot of our great artists are, we're all getting older, put it this way, but some of the artists are pretty much dying. We just lost the singer for Fleetwood Mac, such a great singer. Yeah, she's and a great person as well. So we're losing a lot of us. And we have to pass on the torch. It's the way it is. Otherwise, music is going to die, because I'm like, wow, so sad,
So where can people go to find out more about what you're currently working on, what your tour is? Because if you've had 2 sold-out shows in a row, come on, we got to make it 3, 4, 5, 10.
Well, as far as myself, they have to go to – I'm always on Facebook. It's pretty simple. I mean – I'm old school, so I go on Facebook all the time. I reply to all my fans, even if it takes me a little bit of time. I'll always reply. So they go to terryilous.com, which is my Facebook page. I have 2 Facebook pages, but the business page, they can go there, and the artist page, I'm sorry, they contact me. I will always reply. And on Twitter, Terry Ilous, on LinkedIn. You name it. It's just all they have to do is Google my first and last name, which is Terry Ilous, and send me a message, and I always reply.
Oh man, you got to come back to this show anytime in the future. The door is always going to be open for you, Terry.
Yeah, I appreciate it. You have very positive energy about yourself, man. I like that. You're like right on top of things. I like that, and you're asking great questions. I appreciate that.
Well, I think you and I are on the same page when it comes to passing things forward. And it's I grew up listening to Dick Clark as well as Casey Kasem, and they gave me the information. Wow. And so therefore, and that's who I was as an on-air talent. And it's like we just got to keep passing it forward.
Are you a musician yourself?
You know what? Here's what happened. I was a musician in garage band as a kid and all that kind of stuff. Uh-huh. And then that the door opened for me to do radio. Well, radio is like is a stage too, and that sucked me in big time.
Oh, so great. So what radio station did you work with?
Oh my God. I've been with, actually I was part of the team that when we were creating iHeartRadio, I mean, I remember those days vividly when it was this new streaming thing. And I've grown with that. And it's just been one of the greatest trips is what it's been.
So what do you think of the future of radio now? What do you think of it? Because a lot of people ask me that question. How do you see it? I mean, there's so many. I mean, there's iHeart. I mean, there's a Sirius XM. There's a bunch of others. How do you see the future right now for radio?
Well, I think it's going to go through the same stage that albums have, and that is that it may slow down for a little bit, but it's always going to be there. And I had a general manager tell me one time. He says that even though you look at streaming as I've got free music, no, you don't. You have to pay for that phone. The radio is always going to be free. So the world could, all the digital devices could die today, but radio is still going to be there.
I agree with you. Radio is very, very important. In fact, as an artist, when we want to promote a show, we do radio ads. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's interesting. I was talking to my agents about that. We can do Facebook ads and everything, great. But the best way to reach people, is to do radio ads, interviews like I'm doing with you right now, and I appreciate you very much. Every time we do that, automatically we reach out to way more people than just doing a Facebook ad or YouTube ads or anything like it. Absolutely. Radio is here to stay. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah,
Thank God.
I think the only one thing that in looking back now, it's like in radio you're local, and whereas with the streaming, this conversation will be picked up in Ukraine. It'll be picked up all over the world, and that to me that's the calling. That's where I like to be, is that where we're communicating to every generation, every nation.
That's fantastic, man. I didn't know I was doing this interview with you. That would be so what can I say? All over the world.
Yeah.
I'm grateful.
Oh my God!
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Terry,
you.
What's really like? I'll give you a good example. Is that I have a friend that's over in Ukraine as a journalist, and his job, right, his sole-driven job, is to document the music of Ukraine. So he goes from one pub to the next pub to the next pub, making sure that he's preserving the history of the musicians.
That's great. Now, do they do rock music or do they do Ukrainian music?
They do. He sends me videos and stuff. It's everything. He says it's celebrating. He says they are a people of freedom, and it just depends on which pub you go into.
That's great. We should. I think as an artist, you have to also celebrate your past. I mean, your past. For example, my dad was Spanish. Okay, from Spain, from Barcelona. I like flamenco. Okay, so I think as an artist, it's important not to forget about my past. And right, when I go to a concert, I love to watch flamenco players because it's part of my past. So for Ukrainian or somebody from England, they need to go back to the roots and celebrate their ancestors' music. Absolutely. I think it's very important. The Celtic music and all that stuff. I think it's very, very important. Never forget the past.
Oh, so true. So true. Dude, you got to come back to this show anytime in the future.
Thank you, brother.
Well,
all right.
You be brilliant today, okay?
Thank you. You take care of yourself, and happy holidays to you and your family.
You bet. Thank you so much. Same to you, sir.
Thank you. Bye-bye.